colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here as a proxy today. That wonderful document that I've just received is on behalf of the Zambian Jewish community. We started at the turn of the century, previous century, 1900s. And that's when the first Jews came to Zambia. In the 1930s, mainly as a consequence of the depression in the world, a further influx came, and in particular, Hanan of Elkai, who's Aviva's father, and Harry Wilson, Edwin's father, came to Zambia at that time. Later, just before the war and the Holocaust, and during the war, there was a much greater influx, and Jews came from most parts of Western Europe, Germany in particular, Latvia, Lithuania, and many other countries. And included amongst that influx was my father. The Jewish community flourished and grew from strength to strength. At one stage we were over 1,200, and yes, we had, I think it was 7 shuls. Life was tough for the new immigrants, language barriers, trying to establish a career, a livelihood in Zambia. But most of them, if not all, succeeded. And not only did they succeed in looking after themselves, they succeeded with the greatest Jewish mitzvah, which is to give. And they gave towards the community, and by doing that, we established the shuls, and they also gave generously towards the state of Israel. Zambia became independent in 1964, and at that time, many of the Jews who had come to Zambia, and a little bit later on, left. So the community started to wane. And although we've had a little bit of a resurgence in the 80s, today, as you heard, I think we're less than 30. And it's now my generation's duty to try and keep that small community going, to look after the many graves that have been left behind, and to immortalize the history that the Jews played in Zambia. And to that end, I think you're all aware of a book called Zion in Africa, which was published some 20 years ago, which gives the history of the Jews in Zambia. And we are about to update that book and issue the second edition. There are 2 extra chapters that have been written to bring us up to present day Zambia, and later on this year that book will be available. And another way that we have immortalized the history of those who were before us is we've established a museum in Livingston. And we call it the Gateway Museum because, as you know, Livingston was the gateway to most of the Jews who came to Zambia. And that museum depicts the history of individuals who have assisted in Zambia. It depicts the history of the Holocaust and why Jews did come to Zambia. And it also has a section detailing a potted explanation of the Jewish religion. And we're pleased that there has been a good response to that community, that museum, and in particular, it's being visited by young school kids. And I think it's important that those kids, those future generations in Zambia, will know a little bit about the Jewish religion and what the Jews did for Zambia. Jews were involved in public life, not only just Jewish activities. We had judges, we had members of parliament, we had mayors, we had a minister of agriculture, many dignitaries, and of course one of our illustrious sons was mentioned earlier on, Stanley Fisher. Most of the Jews who came to Zambia came with nothing. But Zambia gave them a home, gave them a livelihood, gave them a future, and in many, many cases, gave them a pension. As we have been closing down the community, as we've been closing down shuls, so our financial coffers have expanded. And recently we sold the Lusaka shul. For many years, we've been looking for a suitable institution to donate to the money that we have raised. And we struggled, we couldn't find anything. And then, I think you could call it a miracle, two things happened. One is my old friend Edwin approached me with the idea of us supporting Tau. And another old friend, Nyson Ngoma, Vice Chancellor at the Copperbelt University, which is Zambia's second university, also approached me with a view to assisting the Copperbelt University. And it was a no-brainer to put the two and two together. I've always personally felt that one of the greatest ways of serving society is to save lives, and obviously through medicine. So we evolved this idea of donating half of the money to the Copperbelt University and half to Tel Aviv University. And medical was on the list. Now, in comes Aviva Ron, who brought up in Zambia but lives in Israel, an academic. She lectured here for many years earlier on, and she's still involved in Zambia. She's doing a project there for the government. And she directed us towards the Faculty of Public Health. And I think that if one looks at it, that is where it all begins. Because if we were kept our public health status to a very high level, then you avoid diseases, you avoid illnesses, and you declutter the hospitals. So I'm very, very pleased, we're all pleased, that our money is going towards public health. And certainly in the last 24 hours, if I wasn't unhappy, I've certainly been reassured with the people that I've met and what I've seen, the facilities. I think it's been fantastic. The Copperbelt University is a relatively young university, but also its School of Medicine, which has only been going a few years. They've yet to have a graduate. And we were pleased to be at the start, at the get-go, of their new campus, which is being established in Angola. The university itself operates out of Kitwe. So I think we have really, really ticked all the boxes. And earlier on I was asked, what does today mean to me? And I said, I think it must be one of the finest days in the history of the Jewish community in Zambia. What's also interesting is that Tel Aviv, I keep hearing the word research. You're at the cutting edge of research. And we in Zambia, sadly, are not far off the cutting edge of very, very poor public health. So we do offer, unfortunately, the opportunity for students from Israel to see problems in the third world, in the real world. And we're also very pleased, not only are we putting our money into bricks and mortar, but a large component of the cooperation agreement with Tel Aviv University is an exchange program which will last for at least 5 years. And you heard a few minutes ago about the summer schools, students coming over. And by the way, CBU has been sending students to various Israeli institutions for some time. But this is really going to be the catalyst of cooperation between the two countries. It's also apposite that after many years of no diplomatic relations with Israel, after 1973, Zambia resumed diplomatic relations in 1992, and as we speak, Zambia has now decided to establish a full embassy in Israel, and that will also be a catalyst towards the cooperation between the two countries. So everything is pointing in the right direction. We are a very, very small community, but as I said, I believe we do punch well above our weight. I'm proud to be here today, as we all are, and I would like to thank the Tel Aviv University Mr. President, all the academic team, and all those who've worked hard. You heard, we have worked hard. It's been a long time coming, and a lot of effort and planning has gone into today. It's not all over yet. We're going to be implementing, but we have reached a significant point in this process, and that's this ceremony today. So, thank you all, and let today be the start of a really great beginning of cooperation between all of us. Thank you.